One announcement for you because it's pretty cool.
Gluten-free choice out there, and it's street tacos with fruit salad. We're going to take a 45-minute break after.
Right at 12.
Right at 12.
Pretty close to 12.
Right around 12. So if you guys want to do the buffet, raise your hand. I need a count.
How much is it?
Count is $12.95.
$12.95.
Mixed green salad, ranch, balsamic vinegar, chicken and vegetables, shredded cabbage and bocadillo. That how you say it? Soft corn tortillas and flour tortillas, so you have your choice. And then refried beans, Spanish rice, and iced tea. So the drinks are included. So if you guys want to do it, okay, raise your hands. I didn't see.
Oh, that's
Get a
pretty
count.
cool.
Get a count. It's like half the room. All right, come by and get one of these for me when we head out.
Keep your hands up.
Keep your hands up. James is getting a count really quick. Yeah, grab them on your way. Thanks, you guys. Sorry about that.
So Jen changed his mind at the last second.
What? Put your hand up.
Everybody's hands up.
All right.
Rough count.
Okay. Okay, Jody, kiss me first.
All right, we got the count. We're ready to go. Okay, so now we're coming back, and we've got Sanjeev Javia. I have known, yeah, unbelievable. We have known this guy. I've known him for a long, long time. It was a great day when he flew out to California and met with Dr. Wallach, Steve Wallach, and realized the same vision that Sanjeev had been using for years to guide his life through nutrition, through empowering people, through everything else, was exactly in the same path as longevity. He went to Michigan. He graduated at the top of his class there. He went from there to Thunderbird Business School, which is the top international business school in the world, graduated from there. He knows a ton about network marketing, and he knows even more about nutrition. And what his job is to make sure that each and every one of you understand that not only are the 90 essential nutrients incredibly important for your body, but tied to what's going on with our new Hempfx products. You got to cut that out, James, and fix that. We have got absolutely the perfect storm. We've got network marketing tied to Hempfx, tied to the 90 essential nutrients. No one is close to that. So with that, I'm going to bring up the great Sanjeev Javia. Come on, Sanjeev. Yeah. Do you like his new skinny jeans? Aren't they? You look snazzy. They are. You look so nice. I can't believe it.
Mine are regular bootleg. Because my butt is so big, I can't get like the thing up because it's, trust me, it's I've tried, but it doesn't work. How are you guys? Wow. Congratulations to your grandson.
5-year-old.
5-year-old. Well, okay, you're not your 5-year-old, but right, your grandson. Yeah, he just won the Olympic race, right? At 5-year-old, gold medal. Wow, that's pretty hardcore to win a deer out of all the golf. Wow, nice work. I guess Indians can be athletic. So he's half Indian. He's half Indian. Well, all right, guys. Well, I am excited to be here. Wow, Dr. Rickle, awesome. Great to see you. All right, so you guys enjoying?
Yes.
Huh? What do you think about the new presentation?
Woo! Yeah.
So actually, how many of you are brand new? Oh, wow. Okay, great. Well, welcome. Nice. Thank you for being here. We're kind of a crazy group, but I think we're a fun group, and hopefully you will learn a lot. And you guys are the ones that are able to ask questions first. I will not take questions from anybody before you guys, all right? Because they've asked me plenty of questions all the time. Well, all right, so here is what we are going to talk about, right? We want to focus on Hempfx, right? All right, and so let me kind of give you a little journey with Hempfx. Is that cool? All right, and how much time do you want me to take, or do you care? Or?
All day, Sanjeev.
Okay, all day. Awesome. Wow. Yes, because I have nothing to do, which I actually don't have anything to do. So, all right. So, I have been researching and studying hemp and CBD for about 2.5 years. Okay, right? And so I was kind of hearing all of the benefits of medical marijuana and THC. Didn't really hear a lot about CBD. We just heard a lot about THC. I knew a friend of the Stanley brothers. I'm just going to give you a little history here, okay? I don't know if you guys know the Stanley brothers, but the Stanley brothers own a company called Charlotte's Web, okay, right? And that was kind of the big thing that happened in the CBD space, because there was a family, I think, from Minnesota who had a daughter named Charlotte, and she was having these extreme seizures. She had Dravet syndrome, and so she was having these seizures, and so she was kind of trying all of these things, and nothing was working, and her mom, started to do some research and found out that, marijuana helps to relax and to help to reduce seizures, and so she calls up one of these guys who's growing marijuana and says, listen, my daughter is having this issue, do you think there's anything you can do? And so these guys are called cultivars, right? They my dad's a plant pathologist. He doesn't grow weed, but he grows boring stuff like, tomatoes and oregano and things like that. But anyways, so they ended up making a particular strain of marijuana, and she began to use it, and she had significant, crazy, amazing benefit. Okay, right? And that kind of put this out there. Okay, right? And it put this out there in a way in which people started to kind of look at it a little bit more seriously, but then started to kind of dig into more of the research. And there's really no research in the US, right? Because, and the reason why there's no research in the US is that in 1930 or so, they've outlawed, cannabis, right? And I don't know if you know the little story about that, but the whole point of that was the fact that when we began to use hemp, hemp began to be so widely used in so many different things. And people were cool that hemp was using, when you used hemp with paper, you made hemp paper, and you made hemp rope, and you even made hemp clothes. Everybody was kind of cool with that, right? But then when all of a sudden, people started using hemp for fuel, okay, right? And biodiesel type of stuff. And then when hemp began to be used as kind of construction material and replacement for metal, all of these guys of the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and all that sort of stuff were like, dude, whoa, now you're kind of screwing up my deal here, okay, right? And so we don't want hemp being put into these places, because it's kind of like the famous story where Henry Ford started making his cars, or making cars with hemp, right? And he actually had a hemp farm, and he was taking these fibers and basically making hemp fiberglass, right? And so then people were like, whoa, no, that's not cool. And it so happened that people were also kind of smoking hemp as well too. And we had a big issue with opium at the time as well. And so they were like, oh, let's do our first war on drugs in the 30s, right? And that's how this whole marijuana and hemp got outlawed. So it really started from a commercial kind of state that then they've kind of, justified, because it was something that people were smoking, and so they just kind of outlawed everything, right? Well, when you outlaw that, you can't really do any research on it, right? And so, but there were plenty of other places that were doing research with hemp and CBD, not CBD, just hemp. I mean, do remember, hemp's not anything new, right? So hemp and cannabis, if you will, was being used in Chinese traditional medicine and Ayurvedic medicine for 5,000-10,000 years. One of the, there's these, they call it I don't know what the term is, but in Chinese traditional medicine, there's 36 main herbs, right? They're the the key herbs that is the principles of all Chinese traditional medicine, right? Well, hemp is one of those herbs, okay, right? So it was used for a long time, right? And then for Ayurvedic medicine, they actually make this kind of hemp cocktail where they take milk and they take hemp and then they take butter and they put this in this little concoction and you drink it as kind of a neutralizer. It's kind of an elixir that they do everything with, right? And it's kind of interesting why they do that is because one of the premises, right, of hemp and CBD, and we'll talk about this in a second, is that it normalizes things, right? It provides homeostasis. So not only provides homeostasis or balance to the body, it also provides homeostasis and balance to other types of medicines, if you will, right? So that's why every time that you take like licorice root or you take something like that, they'll also have you take a little bit of this little milk concoction. And that's because if you've got something in the body that reacts to licorice too strongly, then it's going to get balanced with the hemp. So anyways, that's a little side note, okay, right? And so anyways, there's all of these places that are using hemp, and but nobody's really doing research here in the US. And so that's why most of the really awesome research is started from Israel. So that's why when you read about some of the research of hemp and CBD, that's where it kind of comes from. So anyways, I just kind of went through that because some people kind of are like, how the heck did this just come about, right? Like, did it come out of nowhere? Like, did they just find this kind of plant? No, they've always known of this plant. It just so happened here in the Western world, we had to do less, or it just got less notoriety because of the fact that there was this stuff that happened way before. And then on top of that, I think that people started realizing, right now, the reason why it doesn't get as much notoriety is because they're finding it so incredibly powerful. And unfortunately for, or unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, the areas in which it's shown the greatest benefit is in pain, anxiety, insomnia, nausea, and epilepsy. And so if you look at the greatest body of research of hemp and CBD, and also kind of, marijuana as well too. I mean, listen, let's not, be scared of marijuana. Not that I smoke it or anything like that. Just try to say, right? Is that, no, I know. I did it. No, well, anyway, and so it was, so another tangent, but like, and so they, basically the reason why they don't talk about it a lot is because, the greatest body of research in those 5 areas. And if you look at them, and even though we talk about epilepsy, really what it is about mental function is cognitive function. It's brain health, right? That's the whole point of that, And so if you have greater brain health, you don't have as much neurotic symptoms that, So anyways, if you look at the 3 areas of that, that's the greatest areas of where pharmacy makes their most money. Right? They make their most money with, the SSRIs, the serotonin, the anxiety things, the positive wellness things, the pain things, and things like that. And so now all of a sudden you've got this nutrient. And let me tell you something, how powerful this is, okay, right? And so there's 3 drugs right now that are CBD based. Hemp-based, CBD-based, okay, right? 2 of them are for nausea, and the one that just got approved the other day called Epidiolex is for Dravet syndrome or childhood seizures, okay, right? Let me just tell you just how powerful this is, okay, right? So most medicines, they come from natural substances, right? Like aspirin comes from white willow bark, right? Everything starts in a natural place, okay, right? Then basically what you do as a pharmaceutical company is you take that natural nutrient and you do something to it. You throw a hydroxyl group on there, you do something to it for kind of 2 purposes, right? The first purpose is you got to do something different because, somebody can just, if it's too natural, then they'll just take the natural thing. Okay, right? And then the second thing is that they want to make it more powerful, okay, right? And so that's kind of the sucky thing about nutrition and natural stuff is that it's powerful, but, it's really powerful, but it takes a while to work, right? Like, I mean, let's be honest, like nutrition takes a lot to work. Okay, right? If you've got osteoporosis, if you've got, some bone degenerative stuff, you can take calcium and that's awesome, but listen, it's going to take a little bit while to work. And it's great that it sucks and it takes a long time to work, but the great thing about it is it doesn't have any side effects. And the other great thing about it is that using natural and nutrient solutions will provide you greater reinforcement in other areas as well too. So there are a lot of great benefits, but it's not going to work as fast, okay, right? So therefore they take these natural things and they change it up a bit to make it like way more powerful. Here's the crazy thing about what they did with these drugs. They didn't touch CBD. They didn't touch the molecule. They left it exactly as it is. Now there's two things that I'm trying to convey to you. Number one, that's how powerful this is for certain health issues. And then the second thing is the reason why you can't screw around with it is because the biggest reason why hemp and CBD is so popular or so impactful is because there's no other thing that it's associated with something that is innate in the body. So this is the other big thing that I need you guys to understand, okay, right? This seems really weird because you would think that by now you've kind of discovered everything. Like when somebody tells me they've discovered something, I'm like, how is it like nowadays that you can discover new stuff? It just seems weird to me, okay, right? I mean, it shouldn't, but it just seems like, Michelangelo, those guys, they are constantly discovering shit, right? Because there was hardly anything around. And so it's oh, there's a star, I discovered a star, and there's this tree, and there's a spruce. We're going to call it spruce. And so when somebody says, oh, they discovered a new bug, I'm like, okay, that's fucking to figure out a new bug? I thought people have been studying bugs for hundreds of years, and there's people entomologists who do this all day, every day. You just found this out? So this is what seems really odd to me, but here's the deal, is that, and this is exactly true, but let's just say is that, just in 1995, right, which is, not very long ago, okay, right? I'd like to think that it's not very long ago, because I'm much younger than I am, is that they happened to validate and discover this innate system in the body called the endocannabinoid system. I don't know if you guys realize what I'm saying here, okay, right? That's basically saying that, let's just say in 1995, someone's you know what? We just found out that there's an immune system. Literally, that's what it's like. It's like somebody saying in 1995, you know what? We were screwing around in the body and we were doing all this sort of shit. And you know what? We found this thing called the endocrine system, and there's these hormones that the body has. That's how crazy this is that even though it was, like I said, in other areas of the world, they were figuring out there was this thing that you've got these two new molecules in the body. Nobody knew exactly what they were doing. They kind of called it cannabinoids. They did find that it did have some receptors in the body. So they were kind of looking at it, but literally they legitimized and validated just in 1995 that there was this innate system that you were born with. You were born with this system. It's not an adaptive thing. You're born, I don't know why I'm doing this, but you're born with this system, and you're born with it. And oh my gosh, this system that you're born with, that we just discovered, uses this stuff called cannabinoids. And the body makes its own cannabinoids, but there's also cannabinoids that you can consume too. And then it's oh my gosh, well, what does this system do? And then they started kind of doing all this massive research, the Dr. McCullough first, his name starts with an M, and then down to zero saying, oh, I think what this does is it helps to provide homeostasis, and it normalizes the body, and it acts all systemically, and it does. And so this is the reason why it's like, for a guy like me who's a formulator, I'm a formulator, that's what I do, okay, right? Like, other formulators, when we all get together, not that we all get together, and I don't get together with other formulators, and we certainly, when we do get together, we don't call ourselves that, because that's just very geeky. But we kind of talk about this as a generational opportunity. Like, we talk about hemp and CBD as a generational opportunity. We don't believe that we'll see anything in another thing like hemp or CBD in our generation. So that's why we're so jazzed about what this can do for wellness and for health and for people and for all that sort of, is because there's no other time, resveratrol, green tea, beta-glucan, fucoidan, all of these ingredients that we've kind of, tart cherry, a turmeric, all that, all of these things are really great. They're awesome for the body. But see, these are called secondary nutrients. They're things that you put into your body, which then do some things that metabolize into then providing these benefits. Okay, right? Guys, the reason why there's so much going on right now in this space is because this is a nutrient that literally goes into the body and has its own system that it is responsible to run. And this system has one purpose. It's to provide homeostasis, it's to provide balance. The reason why balance is so important, guys, is because when you are traumatized, when you are sick, when you are ill, when you are diseased, really fundamentally what's happening is your body is in chaos. Your body is in chaos. It's not balanced. That's why you have excess inflammation. That's why you have this cellular growth of malignant, cells. It's out of balance, because when it's in balance, everything works very efficiently. Therefore, the body has the ability to stop with this healthy element called inflammation that's supposed to happen when you have injury. Somebody hits you in the shoulder, you're supposed to get this healthy response that creates all this healing nutrients to this area. And that process is called inflammation. So inflammation is not a bad thing. What's a bad thing is excess inflammation. Well, why is excess inflammation a bad thing? Is because you get too much of this response that's supposed to be contained. The reason why you have too much of that response is because nothing's in balance. So what if you could bring it back into balance? If you brought it back into balance, you wouldn't have any excess anything going on. See, this is like, how you can understand why CBD works for so many health issues, because it doesn't really make sense. How can that's not even what you're used to understanding, right? Is like vitamin C is for colds. It's an antioxidant, okay, right? Beta-glucan is for immune response. Everything has this one kind of specific thing. And then all of a sudden somebody tells you, oh, you have this issue? Oh, let's just, anyway, like, oh, you have anxiety? Okay, great. Take CBD. Oh, you got pain? Oh, take CBD. Oh, you've got brain health issues? Great, take CBD. Oh, you have, and you're thinking to yourself, how does this one thing do all of that? It doesn't make any sense. Well, it would make sense if you realize that where it's acting on is all over the body. Like it's fundamentally providing balance to every cell in the body. So if you look at any type of health issue, it all starts cellularly. It starts at the very beginning. So if you're able to go directly to that one cell or those cells, and you provide balance so it doesn't get all crazy, then you provide this systemic health. That's why you can take it for anything. Okay, right? And so, and I think like that's what people kind of aren't quite understanding. So there's really kind of, you know, two big things to understand with, so let's do this though, real quick. So one of the biggest reasons why people don't take CBD, understandably, okay, right, is because they feel that it's so associated with marijuana, okay, right? Complete sense. The reason why it's complete sense, because it is associated with marijuana, okay, right? Like, it's just, okay? And here's why it's associated with marijuana, is that so plants and the plant kingdom, okay, right, has families of plants, okay, right? So like the citrus is like, hey, go get me a citrus. There is no such thing, okay, right? Because citrus is a family of plants, okay? That's the name, okay, right? And in the family of plants, you've got oranges, right? And you've got lemons. They're all part of the citrus family, okay, right? Well, there's a family of plants called Cannabaceae. That's the family of plants. And in that Cannabaceae family of plants, it has various other plants, such as hops, okay? Such as luminous, such as cannabis, such as marijuana, such as hemp, okay? Now here's the thing, guys. Some people term cannabis just for marijuana. Cannabis is a plant that is a family name for marijuana and hemp, okay, right? And so you've got this strain of plant from cannabis that is more male, which is the hemp plant. And then you've got a strain that is female, that is marijuana, right? Mary Jane, right? Like that's why it was named that way, okay, right? And so it was the female part of this cannabis plant, okay, right? Now, just like a orange and a lemon, right? There's vitamin C in both, right? Well, just like in marijuana and hemp, there's CBD in both. Just like in marijuana, there is THC. There is THC in hemp as well, too. Sometimes you hear, oh, there's no THC in hemp. That's not true. The difference is the concentration. There's more vitamin C in a lemon than there is in an orange, surprisingly. Okay? Now, the reason why everyone loves hemp is because there's a greater concentration of CBD than there is in marijuana. And the reason why people love marijuana so much is because there's a higher concentration of THC in marijuana than there is in hemp. And there's even a law that if you're going to call your plant hemp, that hemp has to have less than 0.3% THC. Okay? So I just want to tell you that. I want you guys to know, because you're going to get that. You're going to get people saying, hey, listen, you know what? I don't want to do this because it is marijuana. And then you're going to say, well, it's not marijuana, it's hemp. But understandably, it's from the same family of plants. But see, here's the thing, is that what we're talking about with the products and the nutrients is we're looking at the individual nutrients in those plants, in marijuana and in hemp, okay? So I wanted to tell you guys something. Okay, so watch this. So I was in Oklahoma the other day, okay, right? I was visiting this grow house, okay, right? And this grow house has all of this hemp, okay, right? So here's what you're trying to do right now, okay, right? And this relates to something, promise. So what people are doing now is they're growing hemp, okay, right? And what they're doing is that they want to grow these natural hemp plants and create certain characteristics of those plants. That's what makes you a hemp grower different than you, because all of you have these different strains of hemp. And what you're trying to do, the game that you got going on right now, is you want to create the best plant, the best hemp plant. And the best hemp plant has two things. Number one, it has a high concentration of CBD. And the second thing that it has is there's all of these other beneficial nutrients that are in hemp that you don't hear a lot about. There's a whole set of cannabinoids, other cannabinoids. CBD just happens to be one cannabinoid. There's CBC, CBG, CBN. There's all these other cannabinoids, okay, right? The other thing that it has that's really, really good and very important is called terpenes. How many of you guys use essential oils? Okay, so the reason why you use essential oils is because it has this class of nutrients called terpenes. And terpenes is what provides the benefit. Okay, right? That's what goes into the bloodstream and then, okay, right? The terpenes. Well, guess what? Hemp has those terpenes as well too. And then what you're doing is there's other vitamins and minerals and chlorophyll and other things in there. But really, the name of the game for you guys is who can create the best plant that has a high amount of cannabinoids and a high amount of terpenes. Okay, right? So the reason why this is important is because that's what took us a while to figure out. Where could we go get the best plant genetics? Because that's what's different from other people's products and our products, is you gotta have to look at the source of it, okay, right? So you go visit this grow house, I'm checking out the hemp, it's really cool because he's got this aquaponic system, blah, 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 I don't want to maybe get into that, all that sort of, and they're building these great kind of hemp plants, right? With nice, dense, flowers and all that sort of stuff, okay, right? Or buds and all that sort of stuff, okay, right? And so, so then you've got this stuff, and so that's called biomass. Technically, that's the term they use, biomass. It's just plant material, okay, right? So you've got all this plant material, now you got to do something with it. You got to get oil out of this thing, okay, right? So you got to do something to that plant to get oil out of it. No different than like peanut oil, no canola, and all that corn oil. You got all this plant, you got to get oil out. So how do you get oil? Okay, right? Well, you can do various things to get oil. Okay, right? And this is called the reason why I'm going into this, because I find it fairly interesting, and like I can tell you about the products. Okay, right? And so so you got to extract it, distill out that oil. Okay, right? There's various ways to do this. Okay, right? There is, you could squeeze it out, cold press it out, just squeeze out the oil, okay, right? Second thing you could do is you could, take various solvents, and the main kind of solvents that you use is alcohols, okay? And you can push alcohol through the plant, clean the plant, push alcohol through, clean the plant, push alcohol through the plant, and then it starts separating out nutrients, okay, right? And then there's got this technique called CO2 extraction. So you basically take that biomass, you freeze it, and then you push CO2 through it. You push CO2 through it, oil comes out, okay, right? And then there's this other way that they're doing, which I haven't really seen anything do of significance, but some people are actually using water extraction, okay, right? And so there's all these kind of various ways to do it. And they all have their benefits, okay, right? But the thing is what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that whatever method that you use is the least harmful to that plant. And you're able to get the most out of that plant. Okay, right? I'd love to cold press everything. Problem is that you don't get as much. Okay, right? Now, there's companies who are using alcohol extraction, but they'll even use things like butane and propane. They'll use all these kind of various harsh types of chemicals to pull this out. Why? Because you can pull it out, you can pull a lot out, and you can pull it out really cheap too, okay, right? And then you can use other types of kind of cleaner ways, alcohol ways of doing it. And then what you've got to do is remember, the name of the game is how do I get more out of it? And not only more out of it, but how can I keep everything in its most natural matrix? And this should sound a little bit familiar to you because one of the key things of longevity is what? The plant-derived minerals, right? Why would we go through the trouble of taking humic shale? What is humic shale? Plants. It's prehistoric. You go to the mine. How many of you have visited the mine? Okay, right? You'll go to the mine and you're like, when you go to the mine, you take the dirt and it's like rock, right? And then you take the rock and if you press it, it crumbles on you, right? Because it's really not rock. It's just a bunch of plants that have been, for thousands and thousands of years stacked together that's created this dense plant mass. Guys, that's no different than hemp. And the same way you're getting those minerals, the same way you're getting the oil out of this stuff. Okay, so you guys should know this, okay, right? And so the name of the game with that too is how do you make sure that when you take it out, that you don't leave anything good behind? And then secondly, and this is the major thing, how do you keep everything in the same ratio? See, that's why you got to be really careful about taking products that are kind of built together because things are out of ratio. Well, you can believe whatever you want to believe. For me, I like keeping things most natural, in its most natural matrix. So if that is the proportion of minerals that was in that plant, keep it the same proportion here. Don't mess around with it. Okay, right? So these extraction methods, you got to make sure that you can keep that same ratios. Okay, right? And then there's a little side note, and the side note is, do remember, is that you got to be able to take whatever solvents that you were using and you got to remove them. Okay, right? So you go through a process of removing it, and then the end product is this nice kind of clear, clean oil. Okay, right? The reason why I'm telling you guys all this is because this is where the differences come in. So when people are like, oh, Jeevers, you got a 750 milligram tincture that's full spectrum. This guy's got 750 milligram full spectrum. They've used 25 milligrams of CBD. You guys use 25 milligrams of CBD, but theirs is like $20 cheaper, right? Well, the thing is that nothing on that label is going to allow you to see any of this back end. So because you don't see any of that back end, you just see 25 milligrams of CBD, 25 milligrams of CBD, full spectrum, 750 milligrams, 750 milligrams. It's you don't see any of that back, right? And so that's what kind of sucks, and that's why we try to do as much as we can, like on Hempfx, to be like, okay, listen, guys, so here's what we've done, okay, right? Like, number one, the difference between our oil and everybody else's oil, number one, so we make sure that we have the best plant genetics. And the main thing that we were looking for plant genetics was less about how much CBD there was, but more about these terpenes. Because there's this thing, it's called the entourage effect, okay, right? You'll read a little bit about it. The entourage effect is really why people feel that CBD works as powerfully as it does. Is because, there's all of these kind of nutrients called terpenes and other cannabinoids that are coming together to provide this complementary effect. That's the difference why some people believe in taking full spectrum oil and isolate. There's two types of products on the market right now, okay, right? There's full spectrum, and what full spectrum is it's basically saying, I'm gonna take that hemp and I'm gonna squeeze out that oil and I'm gonna give you everything from that oil, okay, right? Outside of the chlorophyll and all that sort of stuff, okay, right? The other types of products are saying, I'm gonna take that oil, I'm gonna squeeze it out just like I did for full spectrum, but then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna further distill it. And I'm gonna distill it to a point where all you're left with is just the CBD, okay, right? And then you can just take the CBD, okay? It's like if you guys drink protein drinks, there's protein whey concentrate and whey isolate, okay, right? It's the same thing, all right? Now, some people feel that, okay, well, I just want to take the isolate because I feel like that it's cheaper, okay, right? So you're basically buying something at, $13,000 a kilo compared to $4,000 a kilo, okay, right? No, isolate's 4 to 5, full spectrums around 12 to 13, you're looking to pay up to 17 sometimes, right? And so, but longevity has always believed in putting things in its most natural matrix, taking it straight from nature, not doing too much with it outside of the stuff that you absolutely have to do, and leaving it. Well, so when we chose, well, we had to find what source we wanted to use in our product. It was easy for Steve and I to be like, okay, well, we're obviously going to use full spectrum. It may be more expensive, but we believe in this entourage effect. We believe in these terpenes. We believe in all that, okay, right? And so anyways, so number one, we look at plant genetics. Number two is this distillation process. So our distillation process uses a combination of CO2 and ethanol, okay, right? Now, the thing that we've done, though, is we have a patented process on how to do that, okay, right? And the main thing about the patented process is these terpenes, is that these things are super, super sensitive, and you can burn them off if you don't do your distillation right. Okay, right? And people that are doing their distillation, and that's the thing about this industry too, by the way, the Farm Bill passed in December, okay, right? Previous to the Farm Bill passing and still today, there's really no much regulation in CBD and hemp. That's why there was that University of Virginia Commonwealth study where they took, did you hear about this? Where they took they bought 80 products from Amazon and stores and stuff, and they bought 80 products, and they found that like 70% of them didn't have the accurate amount of CBD in it, and they found like 30% of them didn't have any CBD at all. Like it was a mess. It was just a complete mess, right? Well, the reason why it's a complete mess is there's no regulation as tight as it is with nutraceuticals right now. Like for us, with the Youngevity's other products, like you got to make the product, you got to pay, $5 grand every run to do this certificate of analysis. Certificate of analysis shows all of the vitamins in there, what you put in, what was tested, stamped by the FDA. It's got all of this work that makes sure that the products that you take are the best products, or what's on the label is actually on the label. Well, that's not happening right now with hemp and CBD. I mean, literally, you're getting people who are selling hemp, and you read on the back, and it'll say, oh, hemp seed oil. And you're like, oh, well, it's hemp. It's hemp oil. It's hemp. Well, no. That hemp seed oil. There's no CBD in seeds. If you look at a plant, there's no CBD in the seed, and there's very little in the stalk. And so the only place you're getting CBD is from the leaves and the bud. And so, some people, they don't know any better. And they say, oh, yeah, I just bought some hemp drops. Hey, brother, what's up? My man, Ben Fuchs. Woo! And so, come on up here. We'll talk together. Yeah, okay. All right. So people are like buying just like hemp seed oil, right? And they're thinking they got hemp, right? Or people think that they're buying, a certain amount of CBD, and they're not getting CBD. So there's all of this mess that's going on. That's unfortunate, because what's really unfortunate is this stuff is super powerful. And if you have issues and you take it consistently, you're going to get incredible benefits. And so that's another thing, real quick. I know I'm jumping around a lot, but like people always ask me like, okay, so you've been taking it, what do you feel? Okay, right? So here's the deal, guys. So here's what I feel. And it took 30 days to feel this. It took 30 days to feel this, okay, right? I sleep deeper. I don't have issues going to sleep. I don't have issues staying asleep, but I didn't realize this, but I guess I don't sleep as deep. And you know why I know this? Is because I dream now. I don't remember dreaming a lot. I mean, I used to dream, every once in a while I dream, but every night, like now I dream. And so my sister's a dentist, my brother-in-law's a dentist, and they're all into this kind of, not all into this, there's this big issues with sleep. And one of the big issues why people have poor sleep is because they got this jaw issue, and they can't, they got these overbites and underbites and shit, and so they've done all these studies on kind of, what happens when you don't have deep sleep. And one of the indications of not having deep sleep is the fact that you never get into REM. And when you don't get into REM, one of the things is this dreaming thing. So literally, guys, hey, I have any issues with, man, when I wake up, like I was telling this to somebody the other day, man, you do not want to be around me when I wake up. Like when I wake up, I am on fire. Like I have so much energy. Like I'm a bit like I do these like weird exercises in the like bathroom just to get energy out of me. Like I'm kicking my legs around, like I got a ton of energy. Now I will tell you by like 9:30, lights out, right? Who's at the door, you know, right? And so therefore I always thought, man, I got a ton of energy when I wake up. I don't have issues, you know, going to sleep. I probably don't have any sleep issues, you know. But I realized that after 30 days, and the reason why I keep using that 30 days things, people always think this stuff's got to happen like right away. And it doesn't happen for us right away. You know, right? And for those of us that are fairly healthy, it takes longer. And see, that's what you guys don't get, is that the more healthier you are, the longer it's going to take for when you do good things to yourself. Because you're not going to necessarily feel a big difference. I don't feel a big difference in anything. I mean, I take all the longevity products and I do all that sort of stuff. I don't necessarily feel a significant difference. But I think the thing is, the reason why I don't feel a significant difference is because I'm not really unhealthy. And the reason why I'm taking these products is to make sure that I'm not really unhealthy. So therefore, I'm kind of glad that I'm not feeling something significant. Because if it was, I think I'd be in trouble, right? So that's the number one thing you've got to have to understand. The second thing is there's this thing called endocannabinoid tone. So the really cool thing about CBD and cannabinoids is that when you take them in, they actually, and so there's three types of cannabinoids, but really two is the main focus. There's endocannabinoids and there's phytocannabinoids. The endocannabinoids are the two cannabinoids that the body produces on its own, okay, right? There's two cannabinoids that the body produces on its own, okay, right? Then all of these other cannabinoids that you consume, like the cannabinoids from echinacea, the cannabinoids from cacao, the cannabinoids from hops, not that you should be drinking more beer, but from hops, the cannabinoids that you get from hemp, all those are called phytocannabinoids, plant cannabinoids. So the cool thing about these phytocannabinoids is that when you take them in, they provide this endocannabinoid tone, meaning that they allow the body to produce more of its own cannabinoids. So that's another cool thing about this particular nutrient, is that it's literally allowing your body to produce more of this great cannabinoid, right? So therefore, that takes time for some people. And then the third thing is, remember, if you've been, which most of us are, cannabinoid deficient for a long time, and the reason why you'd be cannabinoid deficient is two reasons. Number one, we don't eat a lot of plants. And there's, not that there's a lot of cannabinoids in broccoli and things like that, but there is some, okay, right? But we certainly don't eat these other plants that have high amounts of cannabinoids, okay, right? But the second thing is cannabinoids are very sensitive. They're very sensitive. And let me give you an example, okay, right? There's two cannabinoids, remember I was telling you that the body makes. One is called 2-HE and the other one is called anandamide, okay, right? And anandamide is called the bliss molecule, right? So when you're like, I don't know, when you're like bliss, when you're like a runner's high, okay, right? You're running, and I've never felt this, but like, supposedly there's this runner's high that is, you know, like unattainable for me. And so I know runner's suffering, I just don't run runner's high. And so is that you get to this point where you get this rush of kind of, you know, endorphins, as they call it, okay, right? Endorphins, okay, right? And it makes you feel high, okay, right? Well, that's this cannabinoid called anandamide that gets released, and it makes you feel this bliss, okay, right? But the thing is that you'll notice you don't stay high forever. And that's what kind of sucks, right? It just kind of happens and it's gone, right? Well, that's because you have these enzyme systems that immediately break it down. So it gives you that rush and then it breaks it down. Okay, right? So when you smoke weed, you take THC, it acts on those same animides, but then what it does is it actually breaks down the enzyme it breaks down the enzyme responsible for breaking down that bliss molecule. So that's why you feel high for longer. Okay, right? And by the way, CBD does that same thing. Okay, CBD and THC. Now, THC does this other thing too. There's another receptor on the brain that it attaches to that, by the way, CBD doesn't. That's why when people say, oh, I'm worried about taking CBD because I'll get high, the reason why you can't get high or that high is because you got to have that specific molecule to attach to that specific receptor. And CBD doesn't attach to that specific receptor. If anything, you know what it does? Is it attaches to a receptor right next to it that flushes it out. That's why you'll see products on the market, these dispensaries and stuff, that have these certain ratios of CBD and THC. Why? Is because they're going to give you the benefit of the THC, but they don't want you to get high. So how they make sure that you don't get high is they'll add the CBD. So if you are like, too high, I don't know how you'd be too high, but anyway, no, if you're too high, one of the solutions that they give you is they give you CBD. Is because it flushes out that THC out of that receptor. That's why if you ever, somebody says, oh, listen, I don't want to take this because I'm worried about getting high, you can say, well, no, listen, number one is it's not the same receptor that, first of all, don't worry, it's not THC because THC is what gets you high. Secondly, the reason why CBD can't get you high is because it doesn't fit in that receptor, okay, right? And then the third thing, just to let you know, is that it flushes that stuff out, even if you want it. That's how it's actually used, right? So it's kind of interesting. I just want to kind of lay down some of that stuff because they're common questions, I guess, okay, right? So let me kind of, in this last little bit, so obviously what we've done is we've developed 3 products, okay, right, that are hemp CBD based. And you can develop products that are marijuana CBD based, but remember, it doesn't make any sense. And the reason why is because why would you take a plant that only has 0.3, why would you, CBD in a marijuana plant is like 30%. CBD in a hemp plant is like 87%, 85%. So think about you business people. Why would you squeeze out the plant that only has 30%? You're losing the yield, okay, right? So anyway, all of our products are hemp-derived CBD. So we get all of our CBD and our oil from hemp, okay, right? What we did is we looked at what were the 3 bodies of research that CBD had the greatest work in. Remember, I told you those 5. So one of them was going to be for muscle and nerve and joint relief. And the reason why, I say nerve relief, okay, right? So guys, a lot of people choose products that, when you have pain, they're dealing with the muscle. But really where a lot of pain can happen is in the rebarb around in that muscle. And there's nerves there. And so therefore, if you take a look at our Soothe Cream, it's focusing on muscle relief, nerve relief, and joint relief. And here's the second thing that we don't talk a lot about, but it also helps to promote circulation. Okay, right? And circulation is key. Remember, a mentor of mine told me, blood heals everything. The more blood that you get somewhere, the more healing that happens. How do you think? That's why magnets work, and that's why compression works. That's why hot and cold works, is you're rushing blood to that particular area, okay, right? So we got that. The second thing that we have is the mental wellness, okay, right? The positive wellness in the Uplift product, okay, right? And so that's, to me, that's almost like brain health. Okay, right? And then the third one that we have is for what? Sleep. Okay, right? I know you can't see anything here, but I'm saying
I was
if it was
thinking.
here. No. This is where the relief, this is where the relax is. Not here. The soothe is here.
Yeah, go back to that last slide.
Yeah. The last one. So the last one is for the rest and relaxation. Okay, right? Now the neat things about us is that we wanted to provide not just the CBD or the hemp, but we wanted to provide other nutrients that we had a lot of experience in. So that's why you'll see in all of our products, we provide complementary nutrients. Like people may not realize, that Soothe product also has glutathione in it. Like glutathione is like, remember, it's the body's primary antioxidant. There's only 3 of them: superoxide dismutase, glutathione, and glutathione peroxidase. That Soothe product has glutathione. It has a high amount of antioxidant. It has a whole list of essential oils in there. Okay, right? And then you've got the Uplift product that has St. John's wort, and it has the CBD, and then also it has some terpenes. Okay, right? And then Relax has chamomile, valerian, all these things people are already taking. That's the cool thing about this. When you talk about these products to others, say, hey, listen, you have sleep issues. What have you been taking? And I guarantee you that if they've been taking something, they've been taking things, teas or oils or whatever that has chamomile, valerian, lavender, and what I want to do is I want to say, oh, cool, you're taking that? Funny thing, we have those same ingredients in our product as well. So you don't have to take that anymore. You already believe in those things. I've got them. Plus, we've got the CBD.
Craftsmanship made right
So
here
now
in
I was trying
America.
to kind of enhance and make it easier for you to talk about products and try to get someone who's like, oh, no one likes spending more money, right? They don't mind shifting money though, right? And so it's almost like, okay, if I threw some of these other nutrients in there that are valuable and powerful, and I knew that they were taking those before, they would maybe say, okay, well, I'll shift those $15 or $20 that I was taking on that, and I'll move it to this one. Let me try it for 30 days, 60 days. If it works for me, then great. If it doesn't, I'll go back to my other stuff. That's how you got to talk about this. A lot of people, you're going to find 2 people, and then I got it, and here, I think I'm over, is there's 2 types of people. The first type of people are already CBD users. They're already believers. And you want those. Like Scott always teaches you, look for those who are looking. Okay, right? They're just looking. They're looking for this sort of stuff. They've been using it. They just didn't know if what they were taking was that great. That's the best person. Okay, right? That's a person that you say, hey, try this. Do it for at least 30 or 60 days. Tell me if it makes a difference. If it makes a difference, great. If it doesn't, go back to your other one. That's that. The second type of person is a person who's like, I'm not really sure whether this thing is really going to work for me. I don't really know too much about CBD. Well, that's why I wanted to have some of those other nutrients. And you say that the same thing. You say, listen, I don't know if it's going to work for you, right? No one can guarantee it. But why don't you try it? There's all of this buzz, and there wouldn't be all of this buzz if it didn't have something. And fortunately for you guys, you're literally in the Palo Alto of like hemp and CBD, you know what I mean, right? This is like everyone, And so you say, hey, try it out, see if it works, and if it doesn't, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a third group of people who are like, listen, I don't know about CBD. I think it's marijuana, blah, blah. You guys can do whatever you want, but I usually are like, all right, fine. Do you know anybody? Do you have any friends taking CBD? Because I want to talk to them. I want to talk to you. Because it's just too hard to get them to understand stuff, right? And there's just, right now, they're projecting it, and it's on pace to be like a $2.1 billion industry this year. Okay, right? And now that the Farm Bill has passed and all these big people are going to come into it, I know this, guys. I visit every grow farm. I visit every extraction facility. I visit every formulator. You're going to start seeing this everywhere. And I believe very strongly that we've not only have a leg up on them because we've been studying this for a long time, but secondly, we have developed some super innovative products that for the vast majority of people, they really make a difference. We just got to give it some time for some people, So anyways, guys, that's my slides.